right. Let's do this, okay? I'm gonna light some bitch candles. Beautiful, like, red castle candle that I got for my birthday. Isn't this fucking lovely and witchy and shit? But you know what? I'm gonna light this one too. We gonna need it, okay? This is the second time I'll be filming this video. Context, people, context. Several weeks ago, Johanna at Polish Folk Witch, all right, put out something in her stories about social media and content and creating and consuming and FOMO and consumerism and capitalism and right? There were so many good responses, and I wanted to jump in and respond, but I was like, my thoughts are not organized enough for this, okay? So I had like journaled about it, thought about it, right? And then I made a very, very, very ranty video, okay? It's sitting over in my files, ready to get uploaded. And then I get on social media today, ironically, and see that her and a couple of other collaborators have done occult tea, okay? Hashtag occult tea. And I was like, you know what? I'll probably redo my ranty. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to be ranty in this video, okay? Because I probably will be. Because I got some thoughts. But I wanted to redo it so that I make sure that I get all the prompts. I got the prompts. I'm using hubby's phone because I use my phone to film, okay? To get the prompts from Johanna's Instagram, okay? I'm going to leave the, of course I'm going to put the tag somewhere, but I'm going to also leave the collaborators down below. So go check their videos out, or, you know, go check them out if you haven't heard of them. Go check them out. So I didn't even get halfway through Johanna's video. Didn't even watch Ella's. And I was like, okay, because I'd already filmed this, I was like, I'm just going to go ahead. This is going to be very impromptu, probably very ranty, probably very opinionated. And I'm not sorry. What would we do first? The introduction. Introduce yourself. How long have you been practicing in the witchcraft online space? I've been on YouTube for 4 years. I occupy no other social media besides Instagram, and I've been on that less than I have YouTube. So I say a total of 4 years in an active social media presence is what I've been doing in terms of the witchcraft niche. I will plug a kind of a mini disclaimer here that in terms of niches, I occupy several niches on my channel alone. And I guess you could extend that to Instagram too as a portion of my social media. So those are the only two social media platforms that I engage with. So in terms of social media, I have a small presence. So there's just a mini disclaimer there that we're not, in terms of all of them, I'm not on all of them. So maybe I don't have as big of a voice in terms of social media as an umbrella term, but well, I guess we'll get there. And I'm Lennon, by the way, if you didn't know. What practices and topics do you discuss primarily? Okay, look, in terms of my content would go into entertainment, not necessarily educational. I don't think I put out videos to educate people on witchcraft. I guess when I talk about my craft, it's from a very philosophical thinking. I'm going to sit my fat ass on this couch and talk to you guys about some ruminations that I have that go into a little bit of like practice wise, but in terms of sharing bona fide things or 101, this is how you do this is how you do this, oh, here's some information about this. You know, I'm mostly just chatting. I have a chatty YouTube channel, so there you go. Impact on communities, topic 1. I'm like really buzzed for this, you guys. Ooh. What is my personal reasoning, inspiration behind sharing my practice online? Well, like I just said, it's to chat. I like to talk. But because I don't do educational content and it's mostly just, hey, this is what I wrote down in my book of mirrors last night, let's talk about it. It's mainly me talking to you guys in a 20 to 40 minute clips from this vantage point, and that's fucking it. I don't really share a lot, but the reason that I share what I do, I think, or guess, I don't really know why. Because sometimes I feel like my rambly ass thoughts will help someone else that's having thoughts, that's having doubts, that's having, hey, you know, I wanted to try this out, it didn't work, blah, 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 da, da, da. And I think the significance behind my content and the reasoning behind sharing some of my, longer thoughts and even shorter thoughts, it doesn't matter, about my witchcraft, it's more about, because I am one. I'm already a witch. So no matter what I bring to the channel, whether I'm talking about witchcraft or not, it's going to come out that way because I identify as a witch. So, I don't know. I don't really know the reasoning. What am I looking to achieve by participating? Do I seek to educate, learn, or connect? Probably to, okay, not the first one. To educate, it's not really my forte. There are plenty of other great content creators out there that teach. But to me, in my opinion, okay, because we're going to get truthful here, okay? In my opinion, unless you occupy a practice that goes by those practices, rights and rules and all that, and your practice specifically doesn't veer off from that, you're probably more qualified to teach. But let's say you're a solitary practitioner, you're a traditional witch, and you have some eclecticism in your practice, then I believe teaching your eclecticism isn't going to go over well, because you're just going to confuse the people that are looking traditional witchcraft up in books and not seeing your brand of eclecticism unless you specify, this is my personal gnosis, this is my experiences with this, this, and this. Unless you specify that in your educational videos, I don't know. I don't see how that would go over in terms of education. So when I watch other witches, I want to get inspired and entertained. Let's say that what they're saying is very entertaining, right? That's great. I'm just here to watch you like TV, babe, But then at the end of the day, something that they might say might inspire me, that I will actually try to research or to look up, hey, that sounds interesting, and I really felt that on a cellular level, so let me see what I can do in terms of research and trying to transform that to something that could actually apply to my practice. So it's about inspiration, it's about entertainment, and I think the next one was to connect. Of course, we will all want to connect, okay? We all want to feel liked. We're human. We want to feel like validation, and if we don't get that, if we don't get there in a little while with these topics, I do want to cover validation as well. How do I believe social media as a whole has impacted the community? To be honest, if I wasn't on social media, I wouldn't know of certain witches. I wouldn't know about collaborations that are happening, tags that are happening, like this. I barely get on Instagram. It's one of those fucking platforms that I just cannot ever wrap my head around. It's so much easier for me to turn my fucking phone on and get on the couch and talk to you guys. It's just so much easier than getting on Instagram and figuring out what the hell I'm supposed to do with that, Usually I'm on there for a few minutes and then I get right back off. So I would have posted, if I hadn't gotten on Instagram tonight just bullshitting, I would have posted that other ranty ass video and not even known that this hashtag was happening. So in terms of a real connection and trying to form connections with people and trying to see what the community's doing at large, social media is good for that, I think. But I will say that social media, because it says as a whole, okay, so we're talking about the umbrella term. I think that if we looked across it, this was also brought up in a recent video by Wine and Witchcraft by Justin and Brittany about how people's attention spans have lessened since TikTok, shorts, reels, okay? Since they've come out, people want their content within 2 minutes or less. And that's very true. So if someone were to come at it in any kind of, I want to connect, I want to inspire, I want to educate you on something, people are less likely to want to consume that. So I guess in terms of social media. It could be people's attention spans have gone down. But it keeps us connected. I think that I might make a video and get, let's just say, a little engagement on that, right? But then, and some people in the witchcraft niche won't even know that I've made that video. Let's just say, right? Then, if like, and so watches it, and then they say, hey, you know, Lennon made this great video, blah, 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 blah. It's kind of a networking thing. So social media might be good for networking in terms of finding other people so that we can add people to the community, to the niche, so that we're getting inspired and getting educated and connecting. So I think there's some good that comes out of social media for that. I don't know. I think that there is a delicate balance, and we have to know how to navigate those things. Because one thing that I journaled about for that other video that came out right when she did this initially on her stories was about insignificance and envy, and how if I'm feeling FOMO when I watch someone's video, watch someone's shorts, watch someone's reel, or just see a picture, if I'm feeling envious or FOMO about a specific product, the way in which they've looked like they've mapped their spell or ritual that they're sharing, or the way in which they use their words, right? The poetic way they use their words, I try to pinpoint what it is about that thing that they've just put out as a content creator, what they've put out. What is it about that I want in terms of envy or FOMO, right? Is it the product? And if it's the product, is it because I admire that person? Because if I just admire them and respect them, then I'm like, I really respect them. I like their use of words. I like the language that they use in terms of product, in terms of their witchcraft practice. And so therefore I must need what they have so that I can have those same types of feelings within my own practice, right? But that's where it gets into, I'm insignificant. My practice is insignificant, instead of letting the content that we're consuming inspire us. And I don't know. I think that we have to figure out if what we're consuming, okay, to use a bad metaphor here, is what we're consuming junk food or nutritious. And if you're envious towards something, the way in which they do their videos. I remember when I started my channel, okay, get this shit. Now, I'm sorry for those of you who do this. It's no judgment, okay? But for me, it's not a thing. When I first started my YouTube channel, there were a lot of videos on the studio, right, on YouTube Studio about YouTube help. Here's some help, right? And they were talking about the background of your videos. If you're going to be talking like this with a face and a background and nothing else, no like B-roll for the most part, then the background needs to be in thirds. It needs to be like this, slightly blurred out, right? In these kinds of tones, you need to have this kind of lighting. And I was like, I'm not mapping out a corner of my fucking house for an algorithm god. I'm not fucking doing that. But I will say this, those that know how to do those things and that have no problem doing that, because this is just my bookshelf corner, you know, I can't do anything else with this. I don't have any room to really change all this up. Okay. It's there and it has to be. So, but for those that do map out their backgrounds, they get more clout because it feeds the algorithm gods. So I know that in some instances like that, we see someone's video or we see the way that they seem to be growing, right? And it's not because we want their numbers. It's more because when we put out videos that we're really, really proud of and it doesn't get little to no engagement, we're wondering, oh my God, I really would like all the witches to see this video, or all the people that need to see this video, and they're just not there. It's not that. They're there. Okay, the videos are always going to be there unless you delete them. They're there for those people eventually. But unless you appease the algorithm gods, your videos aren't getting pushed. So there's that as well. But sometimes it all depends on what you want to do in terms of creating content. The last one in this topic 1 is consuming witchcraft content becoming a substitute for practice? Possibly, because we see book reviews, and we see people doing things, and we get the same high. We get that same kind of high when someone's reviewing a book and we really admire them. Again, this goes into language. We really respect this creator, and they say this, and this about this book, right? I do this when I go over books. I talk about books, right? And then people might leave a comment, well, you know, I agree with what you said, so I probably won't even pick that book up. Don't listen to me in terms of that. Okay? Sure. Okay, if you have, these are just my thoughts, and that's just their thoughts and their thoughts and their thoughts. And when we respect and admire a creator that we follow, and they put out something that's from their opinion, like I said, a book review, a spell review, a ritual review, or just sharing their shit in general, they're coming at it from their own place, and you have to know whether you're idolizing that person. Because if you're idolizing, if it goes like beyond admiration and respect for that content creator, it could go into idolization, and you're like, okay, well, whatever you say, I'm not going to pick that book up because you hate it. I'm not going to do this because that's not what you do. I'm not going to do that either because you don't, you know, like that's not what we're supposed to be doing. Okay. We're supposed to be figuring this shit out for ourselves, like they're doing. They're figuring this shit out and sharing it with us, trying to inspire us to go do those same things. But then we don't. So, do your own practice. Okay. And then start a YouTube channel, or start a TikTok, or start creating content and sharing what you find. Sharing what happens to you. Okay? Let's inspire. Sure, let's educate, let's inspire, let's connect, you know? We can respect and admire everyone as part of the collective, but then we need to have our own practice. We need to figure out if that book is good for us. What if you found something extremely meaningful in a book that someone else hated? And there was one line in that book that set your fucking soul on fire. Okay, so, all right, let's move on to topic 2. This topic 2 is influencer authenticity, okay? Here we go. Out of what I share on social media, how much of it is staged versus reality? Again, I don't necessarily educate. If I share a fucking spell with you guys, okay, all right, no, let's be real, all right? If I share a spell, I'll call it a mock-up. It's not the real in real time spell, but parts of like in say in a vlog, I did a spell about peace, right? In a recent vlog. That was a mock-up. The night before, when I actively did that spell, I did it the exact same way, but with words, with more intention, with more magic, okay? And I actually performed the spell by myself. But I shared a few, like a B-roll type of a clip of it as a mock-up. That's it. So if I do share them at all, which I don't share a lot. I don't share a lot of my spells, rituals, things like that. They're mock-ups if I do share, but I don't share them. But again, that's because I don't really educate. I mostly talk about what I've found. So it's more of an aftermath. My channel is more of an witchcraft after dark kind of a thing. So we'll say that. Do I think there is an element of censorship in online spaces? How do I decipher what is appropriate to share online versus what to keep private? It says, is it personal preference or social media etiquette? I think it's both. I think that you know when you've gone over the line. Okay, you can feel it. I've got 100 videos over there that I'm never going to upload because I've shared too much of them, or I was like, you know what, that was a little too personal. I'm just going to take that out. Or that went into a little bit of something that I'm not really ready to share. Or, you know, or possibly that might be something that is too intense. so I can't, share that. But I think that after you, like in the process of you making something to put online, at the end of that, and before you actually upload it to whatever platform you're on, there's that feeling that you're like, am I doing this for the wrong reasons? Did I go too in depth with this? Could I dial it back? And then that right there, that niggling, I allow that, because I'm like, yeah, okay. That voice within is like, you really want to share that? This is the whole fucking internet eventually, and then I back out. So you have to kind of listen to your voice. I think that there's a personal preference also. Like I said, I don't share a lot of my practice, but that's because it's so crazy sometimes, and spontaneous. So, there's that. Most of the time when I pick up my phone to film, I've just had a journaling session. That's mostly what my channel is sharing those types of things, like journaling sessions, visions that I've had, and things like that. And even if I share a vision, it's not the whole 100% thing. It's enough to share how profound the experience was, but not the whole thing, I think that in terms of censorship, there's a difference between being secretive and shady, and like this is a secret by my secret. There's a difference between that and censoring yourself to protect your practice, to protect your unique eclecticism, some of those intense moments that you might want to share, but then the hate you would get for sharing that is just, it's not worth it at the end of the day, right? To deal with the trolls. So yeah, I think it goes into both. Have you ever encountered or heard of grifters in our community? And what are the signs? We all know of the ones that are stealing Instagram accounts, the people that are stealing people's photos and their fucking captions, to get money, right? We know that that's happening. We know that grifters in terms of tarot readings is a thing. People are trying to get tarot readings for money, in a grifting, like I said, in a steal grifting way. I think that if someone's asking you for point blank money instead of you inquiring, that's a red flag. I think that this is where community needs to be a thing. Okay. If the web worked like we wanted it to, and we were networking like we wanted the web to work, then you could always go to your community and say, hey, I was encountered by this or this or this, and, have y'all encountered this too? And maybe they have. If we outwardly talk about things that we've experienced in social media, then possibly we can catch these grifters, because somebody else and somebody else and somebody else might have seen something. So sharing to a capacity of trying to catch these grifters is probably crucial. To be honest, my one piece of advice here is that if you needed a witchy service or a tarot reading or something like that, that you wanted to spend your money on, go to someone that you already know and trust in the community. Someone that you already follow. Go to their page and look up their website and look up their Patreon, whatever, and support them through those ways. Like, you go. You do the work. The grifters are going to come. That's not going to stop. But if you need something done that you're going to spend your money on, go to those people. Go to the people that you admire, you respect in the community, and support them. Don't let it be, oh, they need to come to me. Okay? I think that'll, eradicate some of the red flags as well. What tools are helpful to decipher misinformation, and how can we as a community prevent widespread misinformation? I know that recently the Norse Witch put a video out about a comment that they got saying about rules, making up rules, right? Someone had said, oh, you need this, you need to do this, this, and this. And they were like, why? This isn't a rule. You just made that up, right? And they used their platform to announce this. I think that when we encounter things like this, when we encounter misinformation or what we think is misinformation, again, we can go to our platforms that we have. We can put out a public service announcement like they did, you know? And now I haven't encountered this to be fair, I haven't encountered this in that kind of a way. To me, the way I filter stuff is that here's all the information coming at me. I turn myself into a sieve, okay? And I'm like, nothing you say is true. Not that I don't trust them or don't admire or respect them. I just come at it as nothing you've just said is true. And then filter what they have said and go, I'm going to look that up. I'm going to look that up. I'm going to look that up. I do that a lot, okay? And it's only to help me. But I know that a lot of people might not act like that. So they want to take everything that they are fed as gospel. So I think that it would help if we didn't do that. Don't take anything anyone says is gospel until you've researched it yourself. It doesn't mean you don't respect that person. You just be like, oh, this might be a little, this might not work for me, or this might not be true. Or you could flat out ask the person. We're all human, okay? At the end of the day, we're all human. If you have a problem that you've been fed something and you're like, that doesn't sound right, you can flat out ask that person in their comments. Now, you might not get a response, but somebody else, some other commenter might comment and be like, yeah, you're right. That doesn't sound right. I read this and this and this and this. And then you get a conversation going and this person's nowhere to be found, right? I'm just saying. Sometimes conversations can get generated if it's like being in school. Okay. Now, again, I never had a problem with this, but say something the teacher is teaching is just you're not getting it. Okay. And you're like, can you please repeat whatever the hell you just said? Because, I don't understand it. There are so many adolescents that don't raise their hand. They don't raise their hand because they're scared. They think teachers are gods, I have trouble with this about my own children, okay? I'm like, raise your hand. Ask the question, And I think that if we stopped being scared, we really get down to the rub about misinformation. So, how does a large following impact the perception of the creator? Now, as someone with not a large following, I don't really know how to feel about this question. I would say that in a large way, the content creators that have large followings know how to appease the algorithm gods. Across the board, there's probably good reasons why these people have large followings, okay? But I also know, in truth, as someone who does not appease the algorithm gods, that there are things that you can do when you are a creator that push your videos. So it's not so much alongside you making good content, educational content, you have good backgrounds, you have good video qualities, you have good, the camera setups and stuff like that, good lighting, right? You have all those, but then at the end of the day, it's like steps. And then you feed the algorithm god, and then they feed you back with shoving your video to the masses. And there's so many reasons why people have large followings, but I don't think it makes someone an expert on anything. That's the next thing. Does it immediately make them an expert? I don't think it makes them an expert. I think that it makes them seem more respectable. I do believe that in some instances, I do believe that it creates a hierarchy when they're just people too. Okay? They're just people too. They want to connect too, especially if that was part of their mission statement when they made a channel, is to make friends, have witchy friends or whatever. If that was part of their mission statement and that's what they want to do, they're just people at the end of the day, no matter how many fucking followers they have, So if we started seeing people as experts and their only credibility is numbers, I think that can be where our community goes to shit, okay? We need to stop thinking about it in numbers. I know that to get a book deal, publishers ask you how many subscribers you have. How much of a social media following do you have to get a book deal? But I think numbers matter in terms of an expert thing. I think numbers would matter if you want to make an actual career out of this. If you want to produce things that are going to make you money. Books, tarot decks. But then that doesn't mean that someone with less following doesn't know what they're talking about. Basically, what I want to say is that we can look to the people with large followings as they are. They're great, but they're people too. But the people that have lesser following doesn't mean that they're incompetent. It doesn't mean that their voice is insignificant. I don't think it means that. So maybe we need to get out of that mindset, if that is a mindset, that someone with 1,000 subscribers is no more of an expert than this person over here with 50. Now it says, are there any assumptions as to why they may have a following? Of course. We're all sitting here wondering how they grew. How'd you grow? How did this happen? How did that happen? Sometimes let's say I was on a video the other day, right? I was on the video the other day, and I'm a comment whore, so I was in the comment section of this video, and someone was in the comment section going, yeah, there's no, let me pull this down a little bit. There's no in-depth content anymore. There's no good, there's a lot of the good creators have gone. No one's really talking about this or this or this. And you're sitting there, say you're a content creator, and you see that, right? And you're on the lesser spectrum in terms of numbers. You're getting there, you're sitting there like, I do that shit, and so does that shit. Why the hell aren't you watching us? Why are you here bitching, right? You get kind of angry, right? Like, what the fuck am I doing this for? But at the end of the day, I want to say this, to end this kind of thing. In terms of community, you don't want to be the bitch that's in someone else's comment section going, well, I just made this video, come watch me. You don't want to be that bitch. You don't want to be that bitch. But then the person that made that video ain't saying your name either. They ain't saying anyone's name. They're not shouting anyone out. So here's a question I want to pose back to people in terms of this. Do we rely, in terms of numbers, okay, this is like clout and numbers. Do we rely on the community at large for networking and shout outs and mentions? Let's network. Oh yeah, so-and-so made a similar video, and then so-and-so did this, and that was pretty cool. Go check them out, go check them out, go check them out. Okay. Is it every man for himself with the algorithm? Which one are we relying on to push the videos and the content that is trying to supply the demand? Okay. How does one maintain the balance of authenticity and content creation? Well, for me, it's not really a differentiation. I try to be as authentic as I can, only because I share so little. I just chat. There's how more authentic can you get is I'm just chatting with you guys. Most of the time, I will say this. If I research something, or if someone inspired me, or I read an article, things like that, I have a resource section in every one of my videos for that reason. So I think in giving credit where credit is due, telling us what inspired you, who inspired you, telling us where did you find this information that you're giving us, things like that will cure authenticity, or the lack thereof, if there is lack. So let's go into topic 3, okay? Imposter syndrome. When I follow other creators in the community, does it make me feel genuinely inspired or empowered, or does it create feelings of FOMO and being less than? Again, this goes into the envy thing. For me, I always come at content as, am I just watching this to get entertained? Or am I watching this because the topic they're talking about, I want to implement something about this in my practice. So say, for instance, I watch a video on the witch's devil, right? It is because the witch's devil has been niggling at me, and I want to see what other people are saying to inspire. Maybe possibly I watch those videos so that maybe if they share a resource, then I'll have a notebook handy. And I'm like, I can check that out. Let me check that out. So I try to approach it like that. Very, very calm. Not give me, like you're a fucking Cookie Monster, you know? Like, I don't try to come at content that way. I try to come at it as, let's see what's going to inspire me today. And then at the end of that, whatever I'm watching or whatever, seeing, maybe at the end of the day, I'm not. Maybe they just entertain me for however long their stuff is. And I'm like, you know what? That was cool. It's like, you know, I got entertained. That's great. I didn't have to write anything down. I'm not learning anything per se. I'm not getting educated about certain resources. Someone's just talking and I'm watching it and I'm loving it and I'm getting entertained. If I ever experience FOMO, has it ever left me feeling vulnerable to be taken advantage of financially or otherwise? Do I need to purchase the latest popular product or book to fit in? I think this is a huge issue in the community at large, but I don't have this issue. I just don't go out and buy things like this. So it's not an issue for me, really. When I see something and it seems to be working for people, I don't really know. I don't understand those thoughts because I don't have those thoughts that, oh, I need to go buy this. I need to go buy that. I need to go buy that. What I turn it into, if I have, not necessarily that I need to go buy things, it's mostly like I'm more envious of the way they portray their things. It's more about the way they use language, the way they talk about the products that they share. And I'm like, damn, you know, what do I have that would give me that same type of goosebumpy feeling, you know? And I try to take the next several days or however long it is to find that out. A lot of witches are like this, but I've always been the black sheep. I've grown up not fitting in, so why the hell would I care now? I've kind of made this little nest here of not fitting in all over here in the woods by myself. So why would I care about fitting in now? The community isn't so that we're fitting in and being alike. That's not what the purpose of the community is, in my opinion. Maybe we should need to change our opinion about what community is. When practicing my craft, do I find myself comparing what I do to what I've seen people do online? No. But I guess it could. I guess in terms of this, in terms of envy or FOMO, it could go into imposter syndrome for sure. It could go into, I do feel imposter syndrome, okay? So it's not so much that I want to buy those products or I want to fit in. It's more so about, do I feel like I'm not an expert? I'm not good enough. Not that necessarily that my practice isn't good enough, but that I'm not good enough. How do I get good enough? What could I ever possibly do to get good enough? And again, it's not necessarily about fitting in. It's just about, like, say, for instance, I want to put out a creative product, but I don't have a good following to promote, right? To push it out there. Then I get imposter syndrome. And then that goes into sharing as well. There's this vulnerable side of sharing. And to be honest, I think that if I had a bigger following, like the people that have bigger followings, it seems to me that it would be worse for them because they've got more people that they're sharing to. So when it comes to sharing and being vulnerable about their practice, maybe, I don't know, maybe imposter syndrome would be greater in those people because at the end of the day, they're like, I'm sharing to a whole bunch of people. Because it says, in what ways do I combat imposter syndrome? I think of it as a voice, like an inner being, right? Like this goblin. Like I was going to talk about the capitalist goblin. FOMO tends to, I'll say this. overall, the way I think about FOMO and imposter syndrome and things like that, if I feel envy or FOMO or imposter syndrome towards this person that I'm seeing, this person that's sharing what I'm looking at right now, and I can't pinpoint what it is about what they're sharing that I want or feel like I need, if I can't pinpoint that, then I start to feel insignificant. Now, it doesn't happen very often, to be honest, because usually the way I mind map is I say, okay, I'm getting a little envious, about what this person's talking about or what this person is sharing. What is it specifically that I feel like I want out of this? Sometimes it's content, right? Like sometimes somebody will put a video out and it'll be really similar to a video that I've put out, but because they have a bigger following, that video is going to get pushed way more than mine, right? So it makes me feel sometimes like, okay, well, my video must have not been good because they did a similar video and got a shit ton of engagement. That sometimes has happened where someone with a bigger following than me will put out a video and I'm like, wait, hold up. I just did this. We're on the same wavelength. We've plucked from the same idea. Why aren't we talking to each other? Like say we were a real village, okay? And I noticed that so-and-so was on the same kind of wavelength as me. I'd walk my happy ass over there to their house and say, we're on the same wavelength. Let's chat. But nobody's doing that. The web doesn't work like that. Why isn't it working like that? Maybe it's an idea that you've had that you're like, fuck, I was going to do something like this. And now that you've done it and 100,000 people have seen it, I don't need to because you did it. But I think that the rub is that we're all unique. We have unique voices. We come from different parts of the world, different practices, different traditions, different cultures. And even if we're talking about the same topic, we're going to come at it different. And so I think that sometimes to combat imposter syndrome, I have to realize, I have to wake myself up and go, I'm unique. And my perspective on this is unique. And it might help someone to hear my perspective also. I don't know, it's not revolutionary. Okay? What would my practice look like without social media influence of other creators? The same. Is that bad? The same. I've researched things that I've seen on social media that I've put in my book of mirrors, books of mirrors, my witchy thought book. I've put those research topics in there, something that I've seen that maybe I haven't heard of, or maybe I'm like, they were kind of zhuzhing it up to be super cool. And I was like, you're right, this is cool. I'm going to go research that. And then I put my thoughts on that, or I get a book about that and I, put it in my book of mirrors. It's an influence. Okay. I get influenced. But I don't know if it would be too different or not. All right, we're getting to the rub here. All right, topic 4 is capitalizing off community. Do I consider online communities as equally valid to in-person communities? As someone who does not have an in-person community, then yes, I value online community. But that's just because I don't have an in-person community. That's one of the reasons I started YouTube. That's one of the reasons that prior to having a channel, I commented on channels because I was like, please talk to me. I need a witchy friend. I need a witchy friend. Talk to me. Let's talk. What'd you do last night? What'd you do for the full moon? Whatever. Because I don't have that in real life. So I do consider both of them valid. How have online occult witchcraft communities impacted me as a person and or practitioner? Again, following some of the creators that I follow has impacted me with, I've always felt alone in my practice until I came onto the community. Like I said, because I don't have in-person witches that I can talk to, you know? I think that it's made me feel less alone. And I think today, when I think, you know, if I ever had a problem in my craft, and I go, well, who could I ask? You know, like, I was doing this, and this, and it just didn't really work, you know, does someone else have any advice? And I think about who I would ask for advice. It'd be one of the people that I follow on here. That's insane. I know of a handful of people right off the top of my head right now that are content creators that I consider friends, that are witches, that if I ever had a problem in my practice, I would hit them up through Discord or through a text message, through a, you know, WhatsApp. And I'd just be like, look, you know, I'm having a little problem here. Can we like bounce some ideas off each other? I've got like 4 or 5 people that I would do that today that are in the community. That's insane. And that's insanely good, okay? What are some of the dangers of the current phenomenon of capitalizing off of the witchcraft community? It would only be dangerous if we weren't listening to the red flags. We weren't being able to see the red flags. But I think that capitalization in the witchcraft community as a whole has helped us to an extent. I think that it's helped us because now we see certain products out in the world for us. And that's never happened before. But I will say that modern, you know, a lot of modern witchcraft books have come out that are very desaturated. Some of the ones that are coming out, some of the tarot decks that are coming out are regurgitated in a way that is not benefiting the beginner witches. I think that the dangers of capitalizing off this community goes into, okay, witches legion. We are legion, okay? And we are birthing fucking babies every day. Beginner witches every day. Do we really want them to go to Amazon and pick up one of those fucking books that's not talking about anything? Do we really want that? At the end of the day, do we want these beginner witches? We want these beginner witches to know that they are fucking witches. And we want them to feel their craft and feel and do a practice, have a practice, figure out which practice, figure out which folk tales and traditions that they want to follow, which cycles they want to follow, right? We want them to know this stuff and believe this stuff and believe in themselves. We don't want them to pick up some Joe Blow 101 book just because of capitalization, because people are wanting to make that money off of us, you know? I think that's where the danger comes in. Okay. Also, I've mentioned in a book haul video, book video that I did recently, that we do need a little bit more personal gnosis books out there, which I think is why we do content, especially here on YouTube. We're giving out our own unique perspective on our crafts. I think in some regards, that's nice to give those other witches, not even maybe beginners, their permission slipped. Go practice this craft, you know? Right. Should there be paywalled communities and online courses? It's not a thing if you want to go behind a paywall. Here's what I'll say about this, okay? This is where we're going to go into validation. When you know that you're a content creator now, you have a following, whatever it is. If you feel like you create content in any kind of way, you are, okay? So, say for me, mine mostly YouTube. Going into it, figure out what your reward is. Is that you want to get paid doing this someday? Is this that you want a book deal someday? Is this that you want to sell products someday? Is this just in numbers? Like, hey, you know, my ego is just good with you engaging and the numbers are climbing up. That's enough for me. I don't necessarily have to get paid for that. What is it? What is your reward for doing this? And if you feel like you have to go behind a paywall, then that's because you figured out that that's your reward. So many people, especially in the witchcraft community, since I've been on, okay, for 10 years, some creators have just disappeared or gone to Patreon or whatever because they've gone behind that paywall. Now, here's the thing. In terms of validation, what is your validation? What do you need to keep you motivated, to keep you creating content? You know, so many people, I believe, if they don't get to a place where they're able to go to a paywall or don't have enough of a following or whatever, and they're putting out all this content, it's free content that they have to edit and put out and maybe have possibly a schedule with the thing, and they don't feel like they're getting validated. I think there's a vicious cycle here. For me, my channel is a passion project, right? And I create what I want to create. I don't necessarily create for the masses. Now, here's where some people, I think that they go. If you start out having nobody and no engagement, right? You start out doing what you like, what you're passionate about. But then somewhere, and like I said, it hasn't really happened to me yet, but somewhere along the line, you're like, well, I need to be doing what my people need to see, what my people want to see. There's nothing wrong with doing what you think your people want to see, okay? But in terms of twisting the passion project, turning it into a job, it turns into a chore. And you're like, wait a minute, I'm no longer doing this for me. I'm not creating for me. I'm creating for you. And that turns it into a job. And then when it turns into a job, you're like, am I getting rewarded for the job that I'm doing? And if the answer is no, you go deuces, or you go behind a paywall, or you leave in general, or you reassess your channel and you're like, okay, now we're doing this because I'm not feeling validated. I'm not feeling this. I'm not feeling this. You kind of internalize this, right? And you're like, do I still want to put out content that I want to put out, that I think is worth it for me to do all the work behind, and it's free, right? Or do I want to change my content? Again, nothing wrong with this. Change my content for the masses and be about the masses, educating, inspiring, and teaching in a way that I will get validated. I'm going to get paid for this, turn it into a job, right? But then at the end of the day, you need to know what your validation price is. What is your price? Is it that you want to just put out free content for the rest of your fucking life? Or eventually you're going to get to a point where you're like, okay, this is no longer worth it. I'm working for you guys and you ain't even paying me. So I think that it's nice for content creators to know going in what their validation process and reward-based system is. And then if that changes, that's okay. How does one ensure the authenticity of courses, workshops, memberships as a financial investment? Again, I think that this goes on your following. I think that this, say you've been, like I just said, you've been putting out free content, right? You've gotten a following now. These people that are your followers, they know you, they respect you, and they admire you. I would think, and this is what I would want if I had this, like say if I had a Patreon and people were paying me, right? I feel some sort of responsibility, right? With this, as this has turned into a job, right? With friends, or with, I guess with this collaborative thing we got going here, where I'm working for this, I'm working for these people now. I would hope that if you're doing a job and these people no longer think they're getting their money's worth, they should tell you that. These are your people. These are the people. These people are here for you and nobody else in this, under this paywall, right? That they're paying for whatever. So if they ever felt like, if your people don't ever feel like I'm not getting my money's worth, or they've kind of switched up their content and I don't really jive with this, and they stop paying you, or they, get off of your Patreon or whatever, you can look at those and go, you know what, I lost some followers there, but I did kind of shift my content around, but this is where I want it to go now. And that has to be okay with you. And I think that there can be a delicate balance between, I'm getting paid for this, I'm working for you guys, so if ever I do something or I shift around my thing, we can have a dialogue about this. You can tell me, hey, you kind of shifted and that's not really my vibe anymore, so I'm going to have to let you go. And you have to decide whether you want to go back to what you were doing to get all those people, or if you want to continue in another direction. I think that it is about all of it intrinsically linked. That's one way you can be authentic. Your people know you. Your people are there for a reason. They're paying you for a reason. And, you know, let's say you put out a couple of courses, right? And everyone's soaking them up. And then you put out a next one and nobody buys that thing. You could think to yourself, automatically you're thinking, well, damn, is this course not as good as the other ones? You could research that. Is this not as in-depth as my other ones? How is this different than my other ones? You could even pose this question to your people, especially if you have a closed thing like Discord with your people. You could ask them, like, hey, you know, I thought y'all would like this. What's wrong with it? I don't know. I feel like I'd want to talk to my people. All right, here's some conclusions. What are some topics of conversation I'd like to see more of? Again, this goes into supply and demand. If the community at large is asking for something, don't ever assume that no one is talking about it. The algorithm's just not letting you see those people, but they're there. They are there. We are here, okay? If you ever say, oh, you know, there's no in-depth this conversation happening, there's no this conversation happening, don't bitch and whine about it. They are there. They are there. If we have to network more, if we have to shout out people more, if we have to mention people more, we can do that. But I think that in order to supply the demand, don't go under somebody's video and say, this isn't happening, because you don't fucking know. The algorithm's making you think that it's not happening, but it might actually be happening. So I think that not assuming that something's not getting dealt with. What are my community needs? Again, this is a network. We're networking here. This is a web, a delicate web. And I think that, I will say there's two sides to this. I want to follow all the witches in the world, but then I want to organize my feed. So I want all the witches to come at me. I want to follow all of them. But then once my feed gets oversaturated, okay, I reserve the right to organize that. If there's certain people that you just don't jive with, okay, we're human. You don't jive with everyone. It's okay to unfollow them. Okay, it's okay to unfollow them. Now, sometimes, yeah, I'll hear their name come up. So-and-so and so-and-so said, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I might even search them out in a search bar and go see what they've been up to. But I don't follow them. They're not clogging up my feed. I think that if we organized our feed, we would be better mentally, you know. But then again, remember that we're all really linked. We're all linked. We're all part of this community, if you can even call it that. And to come together more with constructive criticism without it seeming shady or passive aggressive. Now, I will say pretentiousness is a thing. Okay? No matter what we do, there is a hierarchy. We're always going to think that the people that have lots of followers are higher than us, are better than us, to some, not better than us, but higher than us in terms of the hierarchy of whatever the social media is, right? We can't let that hierarchy stop us from engaging. That's what I would say. We can't let the hierarchy, even if there is one, we can't let that stop us from engaging with people. I have this problem too. I have this weird comment strategy that I need to deal with, where I will binge. I was watching someone the other day. I'll even shout them out right now. It was Emily over at Emily Witchcraft and Magic. I think that's what her channel name is called. I've been with Emily since day one. because we ran in the same circles back in the day, before me and her started channels. And so I've been her ass since day one, okay? And I was binging her channel the other day, 3 videos in a row while I was like doing housework, okay? Didn't even leave her an emoji. She didn't even know I was there. She didn't even know I was there. So I need to get better about that. But don't let the hierarchy make us stop engaging with who we do follow. Let your people know you're there. If nothing else, it's validating for them. Hey, Lennon came over. She saw me. We're good, right? Stuff like that. I don't know. Engagement can be private too. As long as you don't have like a clogged up DM system on Instagram or something like that, or Discord or whatever. As long as it's not too clogged up, I think that you can go to people privately if you have criticism. If it's real criticism, you can do it privately. I would say that. And then if you feel like a mistake needs to be rectified, you can do that in a public way. Or however you want to rectify a critique that you have been found, or you just have a dialogue about it. I think that if we stop taking things personally and started thinking more about witch as legion, witchcraft as legion, and less about, oh, how dare you talk to me like that? They're not talking to you. They're talking to your craft. They're talking to the fucking witches as a whole, you as a part of it. So I think that's something else too. Add any further thoughts, comments, prompts, questions of your own. Express further points. Offer solutions. Well, I don't know if I offered any kind of solutions, but I took some notes about my previous video, and I'm just going to look over this right now to make sure I didn't forget anything. Okay, we talked about creating. Oh, I did want to mention that my mission statement for starting my channel back in 2019, when I started my channel, I had a mission statement in a composition notebook a lot like this that said, we hold space for each other. Because my videos are all about chatting, right? We're chatting with each other. You know, I'm sitting my fat ass on this couch talking to you guys mostly. And about the craft, whatever, about all my niches that I have. When I say we hold space for each other, and what that meant in my heart before I even started a channel was that I hold space for anyone that might watch my videos. I'm coming at it with respect and grace and dignity, but then I want you guys to know that you're also holding space for me. By you engaging, by you watching me talk, by you watching me, you're holding space for me too. Because sometimes I do put out vulnerable stuff. Sometimes when I share, and by you commenting, that's validating for me. So that's you holding space for me too. So we're holding space for each other. That's my mission statement. When you're a content creator, I think that it's crucial. Again, this was something brought up by Justin and Brittany. Concentrate on your yes numbers, not your no numbers. You know, some of us, we sit here and bitch about, well, why aren't these people watching me? Why aren't these people watching? Come over here. I'm talking about this cool shit over here, you know? But we're not thinking about the people that are here, that are with me, that are my peeps, okay? So I want to think about my yes numbers, not my no numbers. Are you consuming junk food or nutrition content? Know that going in. In terms of community, what kind of community do you want to build? There's nothing wrong with saying, you know, I really enjoyed this video. Even if it's not a direct VR, even if it's not the same topic, you know, sometimes in the bottom of my description box or in my resource section, I'm like, hey, so-and-so made this video and it was really great. Go check them out. I think that sometimes we get too emotionally invested on self and not the community. But then we could bitch and complain about not feeling like we're a part of the community when it's because we've been selfish. So I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I hope that I wasn't too ranty and bitchy in this video. I want to thank all the collaborators, Johanna for bringing this up, but also all the collaborators. I'm going to go watch your videos now that I've put out my fucking opinions. And if a live panel ever came up, I volunteer. I volunteer for tribute. So I will, I'll be here. Okay. Is it 2 or 3? Oh my God, I don't even know. Shit. Don't come for me, Hunger Game people. I want to thank you guys. I think that this is important. I don't even know if I was able to really answer the questions, but I was able to get some opinions across, and that's, while vulnerable, my unique voice is out there. So I hope many more people do VRs to this and say their piece. And I hope everyone's having a good night. Much love.